Thank you for staying with us on the AM show, and we're pleased to bring you former president of the GJA, Afeo Money. He is our guest as we get into the latest by way of the news and in the newspapers. But before we head to him, let me tell you a bit about Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. Now, they're offering free prostate screening. If you've heard in recent times what they've said about a lot of people presenting with prostate issues or cancers, by which time it would have become terminal. There's nothing that can be done about it. Why wait? There are also the women. Many of you don't check your fertility status, what is going on in your reproductive system and all of that. Before you realize there's a fibroid here, there's a development there, and you're in a mess. That's why Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic is saying, just come by and they will take proper care of you as far as screening is concerned. And it's all for free. Of course, everything that follows then would be paid for. Here's where you can locate them. Here in Accra, Spintex opposite the Shell signboard. Kumasi, Kronoma here behind the Angel Educational Complex. There's Takrady Anaji State Tema Community 22, Techiman Hanswa and Esiama Enzima. Their call lines 0244 867 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease, but bringing us to the start of the news review. A very good morning to you.
Good morning.
Good morning. It's good to have you. Tuesday is here again. So I want to kickstart the conversation we're going to have. Yes, we're going to get into the newspapers, but two incidents in recent times. The Occupy Julobi demonstration. There was a police officer, you remember, the Greater Accra Police Command, who, when they were manhandling someone that they had dragged within the perimeter, our cameraman hoisted the tripod and so caught shots. And they threw water at the camera. Someone pointed to the camera, one police officer pointed to the camera, and another one threw a sachet of water at it. One development. I don't know whether you followed our news a short while ago, Peter Senu reporting that incident. Again, police officers there, they see him filming. I mean, he kept saying, I'm a journalist, I'm a journalist. And he was literally attacked. I don't know. This is becoming more and more rampant, as though our work weren't dangerous enough. It is actually incredibly dangerous what we do, putting our necks on the line. But these instances, with none other than the Ghana Police Service being complicit, I'm getting very worried.
As you said, our job is risk-prone and not necessarily cash-rich. But this does not give anybody or any institution the license, especially the police, to raffle journalists in their line of duty. On the first incident, we were told that the police commander has been queried. We are yet to know the outcome of the query. This incident maybe is too fresh for the police to take action, but it is of urgent necessity for the police administration to deal surgically with their own when they flash the law, because they are not above the law. The maltreatment of one of your journalists at the pinnacle of security at the police headquarters.
Yeah. Till today. And do you know what's interesting? It's just yesterday that I was speaking to one of our colleagues here, Maxwell Agbagba. You would often find him on the ground at the Occupy Julobi protest. He was there. He's a solid guy, usually with such instances, very spontaneous, very able to get to the scoop and all of that. It's just yesterday or 2 days ago, something like that, that I was interacting with him and, we're talking about some of these things and security, and our colleague's name came up, Latif. So when I see instances like this, I just ask myself, what is going on, and how safe is it? Is it a crime to do what we do?
Not at all.
And why is the police ever so aggressive when it comes to seeing anybody with a camera? But there is no law, by the way, that, of course, you must apply common sense in instances. But there is no law that forbids anyone from, filming a negative. In fact, when you go to other jurisdictions, I remember on CNN, there was this major demonstration. The police were there, things were going on, and people were filming freely. Journalists were there filming. But you come here and everything seems to be, I don't know. Topsy-turvy.
And the police know how important the work of journalists is. We compliment what they do. In fact, we give them scoops to pursue some of the criminal incidents which happen all over the country. So one would have expected the police to guard jealously the safety and security of journalists and not be the victims culprits in terms of their protection. So again, there are so many things on the plate of IDP, but I believe this one is incident which he should act expeditiously.
And this just came to mind as well right before we get into the papers. You remember the Ashaiman beating incident, the military?
Sure.
I know someone who had also, in a vehicle. So a vehicle was passing when some of it was happening. He tried filming. Unfortunately, they saw him, dragged him out. To cut a long story short, his arm had to be put in a cast. He had a broken arm.
Serious.
So by and by, the security arms or organizations within the state, security agencies, seem to think, and I think that is where a lot of their minds ought to be disabused. They seem to think that if they are doing something, no one has the right to, film it or capture it. But if you deem it wrong, why do it in the first place?
And the police should also realize, and I believe the government should also realize that this incident accounts for the precipitous decline on our position on workplace freedom index.
Yeah.
Where they put all these things together, and then they do the rankings, and then we see ourselves, moving backwards instead of forward, and it's affect our image as a citadel of press freedom.
Well, when you say a prayer, wherever you are, when you say a prayer for a journalist in this country, because
we need journalists.
The journalists. Well, especially those who have to go on the ground and do such things. What we go through is not exactly the best. The Ghanaian Times newspaper this morning. At World Mental Health Day, MHA to rid streets of mental patients to restore dignity. There's also Teresa Kufuor, E.T. Mensah pass on. It was a double whammy, very sad weekend. Wherever you lie on the political spectrum, whether NPP or NDC, and Teresa Kufuor, we can't even play politics with this. These two people were such fantastic people. Teresa Kufuor, very soft-spoken, saw her husband through his tenure, and then, of course, the late E.T. Mensah also coming somewhere in South Africa. EC ends limited voter registration exercise. That was yesterday, and there's a lot to talk about there as well. Abide by security arrangement. Police urge minority Occupy Bank of Ghana protesters. Here's another protest in the offing, and I am hoping, because now I want to err on the side of caution. I am hoping the Ghana Police Service, Dr. George Ekufu Dampari, your Ghana Police Service, our Ghana Police Service, will do things better. I get tired of, this person has been called in, reined in, this person has been interdicted. Let's do the right thing, right? Interdiction, if someone has died, interdiction does nothing. Do you remember the 7 youth who were killed somewhere in the Ashanti region? Sure. That story. Sure. There were claims of till today, and some compensation. You can't compensate for human life.
Not at all. So you cannot put a price tag on human life. Definitely
not. But let's get into the stories. I'll do pages. There's this one. I should highlight it. 25 illegal miners jailed 200 years. Of course, that is the sum total of the jail terms for all of them. I always get happy when I see stuff like this, as few and far between as they are, because at least then it means somewhere in our country, Galamsey will be reduced, if not taken out completely. So let's get to page 9 first. Teresa Kufuor, E.T. Mensah pass on, and a former First Lady and E.T. Mensah, a former MP minister and currently member of the Council of State, have unfortunately passed on. The death of Mrs. Kufuor, 87, and that of E.T. Mensah, 77, were both made public yesterday. The president has so far consoled former President John Agyekum Kufuor and his family over the passing of his wife. After expressing sympathy yesterday to the Kufuor family, President Akufo-Addo paid tribute to the former First Lady. I've also read beautiful tributes from the likes of Kwabena Ejapong, and he was pretty close to her, being the press secretary to former President Kufuor at the time. And then let's go to page 13. It says, at World Mental Health Day, MHA to rid streets of mental patients to restore dignity. The Mental Health Authority will soon roll out strategies to keep persons with mental health off the street in order to restore their dignity. The CEO, Professor Pinaman Apau, therefore said it was necessary for all stakeholders to support advocacy efforts and provide logistical support in implementing this well-planned strategy. She was speaking at the launch of the World Mental Health Day in Accra yesterday on the theme, Mental Health is a Universal Human Right. Mental health. Again, I'll come back to where we know journalism and mental health. Poor financial status of most journalists, long hours of work for people like me, waking up incredibly early and somersaulting if need be to ensure that everything happens. I mean, but mental health is something that across the board, many people take for granted.
Certainly, in 1 year, we need to sharpen our focus on us as a nation. And there's an indication that every person has a degree of mental illness, but it varies from one person to another. And it's a pity that this aspect of mental health in general has been so neglected. Mm-hmm. And the condition at the mental hospitals speak volumes. True. About the degree of neglect of this area of health. And according to statistics, there are about 10,000. And this is a staggering figure. As many as 10,000 mental patients roam our streets throughout the country. And we are told that 2,000, Accra and Kumasi have a figure of 2,000. 2,000
can be found in Accra and Taba.
And this is serious.
Our major cities. Yeah. Wherever you go, and sometimes, like they say, to restore dignity. I don't know how far this will go because there's often a lot of talk that results in no action. But I saw one recently. You know, some of them, you would see them with practically no clothing, so they are exposed everything. What is supposed to be private is not private. Little children see them. It's pathetic, but you see some of them scooping water from gutters and sewers, drinking. I feel terrible when I see these are human beings.
Human beings.
They may have some challenges upstairs, but they're as human as the rest of us, and there's no reason they should be out there. And some of them even pose a threat. I have seen some of them sometimes, about 2 or 3 times in recent months, where you see some of them wielding a stick or a stone, and you are not even aware when your car is passing whether he will target you or let you pass by. And some of them will be swinging them menacingly, and they're on the streets. If something happens, yet we are told we ought to pay more taxes every now and then. Those are some of the things I want to see. If someone throws something at you like that, that person is not guilty. In law, the person must have that intent and then carry out the action. You can't really. The person is clearly... So, if the person does any damage to you, it's damage that is irreparable. You can't do anything about it.
The highest law of the land, our Constitution, states in Article 15(1) that the dignity of all persons shall be inviolable.
True.
And I mean, this
it's mentioned. It's a universal. It is a universal human right.
It is a universal human right.
But is that the case in Ghana?
So, regardless of their state of mental health, such persons ought to have their dignity protected at all times. And dignity comes from the Latin word decus, meaning the richest ornament. So the most important ornament of a person is not the Porsche car in which you ride or the palatial home in which you sleep, but your dignity. So the dignity of all persons, including mental patients, should be protected at all times.
In fact, I think not even including, even more so for them, because of the stigma that usually, and then I mean, I've had so many brushes with them, and one thing I've noticed, sometimes people act very, for example, they may go to someone wanting food or something. I've realized that for most of them, there are instances where I have been somewhere, you see some of them come, and the reactions of some people, they react in a certain way to people who are aggressive towards them. And if you are calm towards them, they also react in a certain way. I have actually had opportunity where some have come at some place I was buying food, and I bought food for them. And it's interesting how they react. They are very human.
They are human.
Very human.
They
may have, some challenges, but they are very human. And sometimes I feel so sad sometimes when I see how some other people react to people with mental health challenges. But
this time around, the Mental Health Authority has assured the nation that they put in place effective strategies to address this menace. And let's hope and pray that it will be an empty rhetoric.
Anyway, so the EC has ended the limited voter registration exercise as well, with everything that has happened. I was watching this morning as one of those we spoke to in the Bono East area was talking about the fact that because of their live system, or there's a word he used that I've forgotten, but because online, so they can quickly run some checks on some people who are trying to double register or change their names and all of that. And that is fantastic, to sanitize the register. But there are the other problems of the paucity of people who have actually registered, what more we could have attained with this process, the cost factor that is being bandied about, accusations of Parliament of not approving the CI for more funding, and also questions about the EC itself and how it's conducted this. What is your take?
I listened to Dr. Bosman Asari yesterday, and he did indicate that the EC was on the verge of exceeding their target. According to they're on the verge of exceeding their target. And he also did explain that the restriction of the registration to the district centers was to protect the integrity and credibility of the voters register.
That is the rhetoric that has been shared since day one. If you recall, Dr. Srebo Kweku, also a member of the Electoral Commission, had said that. But people have brought to the fore, people from all walks of life. Sometimes I try to stay away from the politicians on this. CSOs, well-meaning people have said that even if you are restricting it to the districts, and our numbers, next year is an electoral year.
Sure.
You don't want to disenfranchise anybody. The Constitution guarantees that right. No one should be disenfranchised.
Before next year, we even have this level election.
Indeed. So if this is going to be able to mop up or capture some others that likely, looking at the challenges people have gone through, and people were missed through this window, people who had to travel, because it's a district office you have to go to, who had to travel many tens and hundreds of kilometers, and actually at a point simply gave up, because you travel, you don't get to register, you have to sleep over or go back and find money to come the following day. All of those challenges were there. So as much as possible, it makes sense. It's logical that even if you're targeting purely the regions, the districts, within the districts, all of those who wish to register, were they able to register? That's the question.
And the unintended consequence of restricting registration to register centers is that it deepens the culture of monocracy, in the sense that the resource deficient and financially disabled parties cannot mobilize people to go and vote like NDC and MPP. So from the word go, the whole system is skewed to favor MPP and NDC because they have the means to transport people, give them money to go and register. CPP, PNC, Kwadonko's party, they've all been disadvantaged from the word go. And we ought to bear in mind, logic at the back of our memory at all times, that the processes leading to the election are a significant determinant of how free and transparent an election is.
Indeed.
It's not only what happens on voting day.
No.
So all the processes should pass the test of transparency, fairness. So at the end of the day, whoever wins and beats their chest that indeed they have won a credible contest.
Thank you for those interesting thoughts. Before you come in with the papers you have, Korea government supports Ghana with 22 vehicles to host UN peacekeeping confab, and that story as well on the back page of the Ghanaian Times newspaper. You have the Daily Guide and the Chronicle.
Daily Guide, Nana MPP Mon Teresa Kufuor, your introduction to Teresa, the color of her voice.
I like that, the color of her voice.
Yes, and the British inflection of her voice. And her dignity. In fact, she's a gem of a first lady. And even in there, she's dignity personified, civility epitomized, and humility exemplified. And she brought some dignity, some value to that position. Since independence, we've had between 13 and 14 first ladies. And as in lofty Alps, there are some peaks which rise above others.
Yeah.
And I can say, without any fear of contradiction, that Sister Teresa will occupy a special place among first ladies in this country. Even in death, she stands head and shoulders above so many.
I mean, we've had some pretty stellar first ladies and continue to do so in this Fourth Republic. But like you said, some will always stand. Some will always be primus inter pares, if you like. And, yesterday I was reading quite a bit, just reflecting on some of the things, her contributions. And no one can take away her contribution to our political life as a country, especially as her husband became, the second president of the Fourth Republic. It is indeed a very sad development. And we pray for peace for her soul. Yeah. We lost another stalwart, E.T. Mensah. I honestly didn't see that coming. I wasn't aware of his medical.
I wasn't aware.
Because the last time I saw, Council of State, member of the Council of State. So he had some. So unfortunate that we've lost.
So unfortunate. He also paid his dues to
Oak Trees.
Sports in Ghana. Under him, we won
longest serving
sports minister. And NDC Stalwarts. And under him, Ghana won some international claims, laurels and other. So E.T. Yaoduba, so rest in peace.
Maybe we can do the...
And then we... Galamsey story you have referred to, we have done with a research.
The Electoral Commission.
And this boy who pleaded to
Alistair.
Yes, Alistair, John Alistair. John was unemployed and John was offered a job. And as the Bible says, the heart of man is desperately wicked.
Desperately wicked.
Desperately wicked. And John, I don't know what entered his head. I don't know how demonic was the attack. And John had to kill his...
Bolted with her phone.
With the phone.
I mean, they give you a phone to do something. You bolt with it. And then everything else that followed. Taking all those sums of cash from her account. And upon all that, killing the person.
Killing the person. This is an act of wickedness. And it's sad. And we pray that he's so young and handsome, but he's dealing with the law. The law, I believe the law will take its course. But this should serve as a warning, as a lesson to young ones, all of us, because I like this French lawyer, prominent French lawyer, who says, I learn little from good examples, but more from bad examples, which serve as daily lessons. So these bad examples should serve as a fountain of lesson for the young, those who are unemployed. If someone extends a hand of generosity, please, never turn your back, never to the extent of being killing the one who offered you employment. It is...
because often we'll draw the line and say that our administrations in and out have not done enough when it comes to employability, so that people will have ample opportunity. But then when someone gives you an opportunity like this, receptionist and all, it may not be the best. But I think the negative example as well of some of our leaders contribute to actions like this, because you meet a lot of young people who think they want to ride in that flashy car, own this and that at the snap of, it's like a genie. Hey, genie, out of the bottle. My first wish, my second wish, my third wish. It doesn't work like that. But a lot of people out there seem to think if leaders can live these lavish lives, and some of them practically haven't done anything in life. They just went straight into politics and they can live like this. People, and I'm saying this because I speak to young people, and sometimes, consciously or unconsciously, these are some of the things that slip out. And then you realize they think, it's simple. It should be easy for me to ride in a V8, to build a magnificent house, to have all the cash to spend and all of that. It doesn't help some of the recent happenings that have come to light. I'll not cite them, but we all know, which create the impression that a certain small section of politically exposed society has so much and the rest do not have. So some people have all these mindsets, and before you realize, they get swayed by the devil and get into all of
this. And we want to pump into their heads that life is not a race. If you look at some of the rich men and women we have in this country at the moment, you can mention despite he was selling cassettes at Kantomato. McDan, my good friend, was a tractor mate. Kennedy Japan, the presidential aspirant, was a street hawker whilst at the Southern Secondary School, at the Southern College. And these are people who made it through the hard way.
That sort of thinking is in very short supply nowadays. I can tell you that for a fact. I interact with a lot of young people on a daily basis, from church to, different institutions to all manner of places. Sometimes I would even go somewhere eating with somebody, and I would just speak to a person or two, a waiter, or sometimes just I'm curious like that. And some of the things people say. And one of the things that in recent times I've become very disturbed about, the propensity, the desire of a lot of these young people. Speak to about 10 young people, 8 point something or 9. You kind of have 8 point something in human beings, but about 8 or 9 of them want to leave the country.
Sure.
It's sad.
It is sad. Number one, they cannot fault them because of job opportunities, because of the job opportunities are minuscule. That is a fact. Statistics will show the thousands of students will churn out from universities every year. And only a minute proportion of them get employed. So the rest are made to struggle. And we know in an economy which is buffeted with vitally bitter cost of living crisis, vitally bitter. And as I say, you go, man and survive. Yeah. And the survival instincts can sometimes push you to criminal high, but God forbid. So we should double our steps, double our moves, do more to ensure that we rope in as many as possible into the employment bracket, whilst also preaching to the youth that, it's not easy everywhere. So, and that's something give the license.
No,
there's
no justification.
Not at all.
But as we conclude on this, I remember the quote. I don't remember who said it, but this is not the end of the road for Alistair. As much as he's committed something this heinous. Remember Paul? And Paul, some say he became Paul. He never became Paul. He was Roman and Jewish at the same time. So Saul didn't become Paul. He was both at the same time. He would go here and say, I'm a Roman when it suited him. He would go there and say, I am Hebrew when it suited him. But he oversaw the killing of Stephen.
Yeah.
So in a way, he was a murderer.
Yeah, he was a murderer.
Yet,
he was a murderer.
Look at what
was a murderer.
God
was a murderer.
God used him to do. I was just about to mention David. So it's not the end of the road to him. For him, no one should write him off. You never know. Sometimes it takes some of these things for God to actually bring someone out and use them. And that quote, it says, every saint has a past and every sinner has a future. So the saint had his own evils. He has a past. And the sinner as well has a future the propensity, the possibility of doing better. So we
So
hope that God's grace catches up with him.
This will not spell the end of his life. It's he will learn some bitter lessons. I believe this will bring a turning around and it'll be useful to society.
Let's check out the next paper you have. Maybe we'll get ready to
the Chronicle and upon chief. That's the majority leader preaching against tribal politics. And Akuto has a message. Presidential aspirant Dr. Uswefri Akuto has a message for MPP, delegate MPP party as a whole, that the desire to break the 8-year cycle of governance will not be a cakewalk. He cited a number of factors: the state of the economy, the rate of unemployment, and a polarization in the MPP party. He's underlining the need to resolve all these issues in order to enhance the chances of the party to break the 8. NDC MPP clashes are like a classical.
I like the way you put it, El Clasico. Eh?
Real Madrid,
Barcelona.
Barcelona. Sometimes the form guide does not matter, but But at the same time,
or maybe Kotoko and Hearts.
Kotoko and Hearts. So it's possible to break the 8, but it won't be easy under the present circumstances.
Well, just for me, I always say that it's about deliverables. In the end, the people want certain things, and once they are delivered, I feel you don't need a soothsayer to come and tell them that say echo and lean towards this. Unfortunately, party in, party out. They are failing, especially the youth. That is one of my foremost concerns. And the aged. Look at what is happening now with the dialysis flip-flop, and we are doing it, we are not doing it. I always say, the CEO spoke to me on this show. The PRO had spoken to us already. I'm asking, these must go through parliamentary approval. Is it possible, without all deliberations being made, for a department to put up a notice and for people to actually start making the payments, price differentials, and all of that? If that indeed happened on the blind side of the CEO, then I don't know what kind of institution is being run. But hey, that's me, and this is Ghana.
We're told that
after all, we can spend 285,000 cedis on.
We're told that the price hike was not authorized, and the SETA ministry summoned the Kolebu health authorities to explain, only for the same hospital to slap this hike on patients, and we are told that 14 have lost their lives under terrible circumstances. And this is an indictment on our sense of sensitivity and responsibility.
Right.
Because as a nation, we have responsibility to ensure that our people stay in health and deliver.
The former president has been talking about this. It's here in the final newspaper, so I'll just rehash it. Exempt medication and dialysis kits from taxes and duties. That's according to Mahama. The story of Dr. Ifri Akoto is also here. Winner of flag bearer race has a lot of work to do. Sure. You don't say. And then Edu Chum, the education minister, migrates education online. What's this to online? Migrates education online, starting with 30 schools and tablets for each student. He's been doing some interesting things recently. I think it's worthy of commendation. And the approach to STEM as well is something that we ought. I think he personally has been supporting, is it engineering students or something in his constituency? That is also worth commendation. We really have to go, but this skipped me. I just want you in a few seconds to the third force, Alan Chemating and his movement, the Monarch Butterfly. Do you think it's feasible at this point in time? Is it the best time for this?
The answer is an emphatic no.
Emphatic no.
Yeah.
All right. Would you mind in a few seconds elaborating why?
Because historical president will not support the emergence of a third force at this time.
All right.
And I don't see how a butterfly can
it fly? Can it fly above
the elephant?
Can it fly above the umbrella, and can it crash the elephant? That's the question. A butterfly.
A butterfly.
But you never know.
We are told a butterfly has a short lifespan.
Big things come in small packages.
Let's pray.
Let's see how it goes. Afil Money is former president of the Ghana Journalists Association. Thank you so much, sir, for joining me this morning. We end with Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. They are offering free prostate screening, free female fertility screening. Just make your way to any of their branches here in Accra, at Spintex opposite the Shell signboard, Kumasi, Kronomabwe here behind the Angel Educational Complex, Takrade Anaji State, Tema Community 22, Techiman Hanswe and Esiamanzama. The call lines 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. But before we get into sports, water is life. Awake is premium purified water treated through a strict purification process to ensure that every bottle on the market refreshes you better. And we have the perfect sizes for all purposes. 330 and 500 milliliter bottles to fit your pockets and bags, 750 milliliters for the heavy drinkers, and 1.5 liters for those who always want more. We also have 19-liter jar bottles, which are ideal for homes and offices. All you must do now is drink Awake Purified Drinking Water wherever you go. So choose a bottle of Awake Purified Drinking Water today and get quality hydration. Awake Purified Drinking Water, one for life. Remember, for every bottle you buy, an amount is donated to the National Cardiothoracic Center. I take my time when I get to this point because it is indeed heartwarming. It's another quality product by Casapreco Company Limited. For bulk purchases, just call 0262 351 251. This advert is FDA approved. Sports is up next.